I can help you see again, sir. They hit Marcus Ellison hard, landing in the pit of his stomach, where doubt and hope had been wrestling for years. He tilted his head toward the voice, his eyes, milky, useless for 3 years now, catching only the faint blur of Piedmont Park's sprawling green. The voice, young, female, unmistakably a kid's, came from his right. What shook him hadn't sensed her before, but she must have been close. "What did you just say?" he asked, his voice gravelly, like it hadn't been used in days. "I said, I can help you see again," she repeated, her tone clear, steady, no hint of a kid's usual giggle or doubt. It was the kind of certainty that didn't belong in someone so young. Marcus's lips twitched, a bitter smile curling up. "Kid, you got no clue what's been tried. Best doctors in the country, labs my own company funded, millions down the drain on tech that promised miracles and delivered nothing. And you think you can do better?" "I don't think," she said, plain as day, no fluff. "I know." He shifted, trying to place her by sound alone. She was close, maybe perched on the bench's edge, her presence light but unyielding, like a small bird that knew how to stand its ground. "Why'd you say something like that?" A pause, then her voice dropped. "'Cause I heard her. The lady who brings you here, your wife." His hands froze on the bench, fingers digging into the wood. "I hang around this park," she went on. "Sleep behind the coffee shop sometimes when it's not pouring." "Been watching you two for weeks." She walks off to talk on her phone, and I listen. Not trying to, but I do. Her tone grew heavy, like she was carrying something too big. She said she made it happen. Said, "He's blind now, and I'm this close to locking it all down." Marcus's chest tightened, like someone had yanked the air out of him. "Made it happen?" he asked, his voice low, almost afraid of the answer. "I don't know how," the girl said. "But she wants you out of the way. Helpless. Gone. Her voice. It's cold when she talks about you, like she's counting chips at a poker table." Her words trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of a truth too heavy for a kid. Marcus opened his mouth, but his throat locked up. "I didn't want to say this with her around," she added. "She gives me the creeps." But I waited till she was gone. Had to make sure it was safe. Marcus leaned back, fading as Eleanor's voice cut through from a distance. "Marcus, time to go, honey." The girl shifted. He heard the faint scuff of worn sneakers on gravel. "I'll be here tomorrow. Same time," she said, and she was gone, like she'd slipped into the wind. He sat still, unmoving, as Eleanor's perfume, pricey, floral, like a Buckhead boutique, hit him, as her hand brushed his arm. His mind clung to the girl's words, to the spark of truth she'd dropped in his lap. For the first time in years, Marcus wondered if he was more than the broken man he'd become, if someone out there still saw him for who he was. Sleep didn't come that night. Marcus sat in his study, the leather chair creaking under his weight, the darkness of his Buckhead mansion thick and heavy. Atlanta's skyline, a jagged glow he'd once shaped with every deal he closed, was just a faint smear beyond his useless eyes. He replayed the girl's words, each one a needle pricking holes in the trust he'd held onto for too long. The house was dead quiet. Eleanor hadn't come to bed. A note on the nightstand read, "Board call, ran late." "Sleep tight, Em." He hadn't answered, hadn't even touched the paper. His fingers pressed together, palms slick, a feeling he hadn't known since his early days at Ellison Tech, when every contract was a gamble, every handshake a risk. He'd built a tech empire, turned his name into a brand, but now he felt like a guest in his own life, wondering if the woman he'd loved for 20 years had played him for a fool. Morning humidity hung over Atlanta as Eleanor led Marcus to the Piedmont Park bench, her heels clicking sharp before fading toward the meadow, phone buzzing. He waited, pulse steady but loud. Then light steps, careful, like someone dodging puddles. "You showed," he said, relief in his voice. "Told you I would," Lila said, sitting close, her voice low. "I hide behind the coffee shop's dumpster. Nobody looks there." "Heard her say she's got a lawyer, saying you're unfit. Wants your company." Marcus's jaw clenched. "I felt something was off, but you're making it real." "Why do you care, kid?" "'Cause people like her always win," Lila said, her tone sharp, like her mom's old gospel songs on Auburn Avenue. "They lie, and folks like us get pushed aside. I'm done with that." He smiled, gritty but real. "You're sharp for a kid." "You're not done yet," she shot back. "I can help you see, not with eyes, but inside, where it counts." "How?" he asked, voice edged. "I see people's truth," she said. "Talk to 'em, and something shifts, like when Mom sang Wade in the Water to calm me. You're lost, but you're still holding on." "You could walk away," she added. "Start over." "Not that simple," he said. "Company? Bored? My name? These eyes make folks nervous." "You're scared," she said, plain and true. "But I'll be here tomorrow. Be ready to believe." Eleanor's voice cut through. "Marcus? You good, honey?" Lila whispered, "Don't tell her." He nodded, and she was gone. That night, Marcus told Jamal to stop by Peachtree Creek, windows down, trap music faint from a passing car. He needed quiet to think. Lila's words, sharp, fearless, echoed, cutting through years of doubt. He remembered Eleanor's laugh at their first launch, now just a mask for betrayal. His fingers brushed his useless eyes, realizing he'd been blind to her lies long before his sight failed. A kid with nothing but grit had shown him he was still worth fighting for. Morning hit, and Marcus felt a shift. Not peace, but purpose, like a fire kindling in his chest. Eleanor moved through her routine like clockwork, her hands cold as she adjusted his tie. She mentioned a client dinner at the Capitol Grill, apologized with a sigh that sounded like it came from a script, and led him to the car. Her heels clicked sharp on the marble foyer, a sound that used to mean home, but now felt like a countdown. He stayed quiet. The drive to the park was all road noise, her phone buzzing like a hornet's nest. At the bench, she set his cane beside him. "Won't be long, honey," she said, her steps fading toward the meadow, where the food trucks lined up. Marcus sat on the Piedmont Park bench, pulse steady but loud, waiting in the humid morning air. Light steps approached, careful, like someone dodging puddles. "You're here," he said, relief in his voice. "Always," Lila said, sitting close, voice low. "I hide by the coffee shop's back door." Heard her say, "He's fading, the board's ready. She's got papers, a doctor, to lock you out." Marcus's jaw clenched. "Her endgame?" "Your company," Lila said, sure as steel. "Why stick your neck out, kid?" "'Cause liars like her always win," she said, eyes sharp like her mom's at the farmer's market on Auburn Avenue. "I'm done with folks like us getting pushed aside. You're not done, Mr. Ellison." She pressed a stone into his palm, smooth, warm, carved with a faint star. "Mom said it holds light. Keep it when you're lost." "Thanks, Lila," he said, voice thick, the stone grounding him. Eleanor's voice cut through. "Marcus, you good, honey?" Lila whispered, "Don't tell her." He nodded, and she was gone. Days turned into a quiet war. Lila brought scraps of truth, each one a bullet in Marcus's arsenal. Eleanor's late-night calls, Her lawyer's name, Carlton Hayes, a corporate shark. Her plan to paint Marcus as unfit, mentally and physically. Marcus started fighting back. He bought a small digital recorder from a Best Buy run Jamal made, hiding it in his jacket to catch Eleanor's clipped, careful words. He kept the stone in his pocket, its smooth surface a reminder of Lila's faith in him. He called Clara Voss, a lawyer who'd fought his battles back when Ellison Tech was just a startup in a midtown loft. Clara didn't sugarcoat it. Eleanor had been moving money offshore, faking medical reports, whispering to board members that Marcus was losing his grip. One morning, Marcus tripped in the park, his cane catching a loose brick by the walking path. He hit the ground hard, his wrist scraped raw, his pride bruised worse. Lila was there in a second, her small hands steady as she helped him sit up against a tree. "You're not done," she said, her voice firm, like she was talking to a friend, not a billionaire. "You just forgot how tough you are." Her words burned through his shame, lighting a fire he hadn't felt in years. He stood, shaky but upright, and knew he couldn't stay down. Clara put him in touch with Ezra, a grizzled ex-fixer who'd once buried secrets for people like Eleanor, but now worked to dig them up. Ezra showed up at the park one day, his voice rough like gravel, his boots heavy on the path. He handed Marcus a USB drive, emails, bank records, proof of Eleanor's betrayal, all laid out like a roadmap to her downfall. The first showdown came in Marcus's study, the air thick with the scent of old books and polished wood. Eleanor stood, her posture perfect, her voice smooth as silk. "You're not well, Marcus," she said, her tone all concern. "Let me take the load off." The board's worried. "No," he said, his voice like steel, steady for the first time in months. "You've carried enough." "I know what you're doing, Eleanor." Her eyes flickered, a crack in her polished mask. "You're confused," she said, softer, like she was soothing a child. "No," he said, leaning forward, the stone heavy in his pocket. "I'm awake." She turned and left, her heels clicking sharp, the air crackling with her unease. The air in Marcus Ellison's study still hung heavy with Eleanor's departure, her heels' sharp clicks echoing like a warning shot. Marcus sat, the small stone Lila had given him warm in his pocket, its carved star pressing into his palm. He'd crossed a line tonight, calling out Eleanor's lies, and there was no going back. His recorder, tucked in the desk drawer, held her words, careful, calculated, dripping with fake concern. He played it back, her voice smooth as ever. "You're not well, Marcus. Let me take the load off." He'd heard that tone before, in boardrooms, in negotiations gone sour, but never from her, not until now. The stone anchored him, a reminder of Lila's faith, a kid who'd seen through the cracks in his world when he couldn't. He wasn't just fighting for his company anymore. He was fighting for the man he'd forgotten how to be. Morning broke over Atlanta, the city waking with a sluggish hum. Eleanor was quieter than usual, her routine tighter, like she was walking on eggshells. She helped Marcus into a navy blazer, her hands brisk, avoiding his gaze. He could feel it in the way her fingers barely lingered. She mentioned a breakfast meeting with key stakeholders. Her voice clipped. No room for questions. "You'll be fine at the park, right?" she asked, not waiting for an answer, before leading him to the car. The drive was silent, her phone buzzing like a trapped fly. At Piedmont Park, she guided him to the bench, set his cane beside him, and said, "Back soon, honey." Her steps fading toward the meadow, where the food truck's grease and chatter mixed with the morning air. Marcus waited, the park alive around him. A jogger's playlist thumping, kids arguing over a frisbee, the sweet tang of peach cobbler from a nearby vendor. His pulse was steady but loud, like a drumbeat he couldn't ignore. Then light steps, careful, like someone dodging puddles. "You're here," he said, relief softening his voice. "Told you I'd come," Lila said, settling on the bench. Her voice was quieter today, like she was watching her back. "She's moving faster. Heard her on the phone last night, talking to some guy named Carlton. Said, we need to push the vote before he figures it out." Marcus's jaw tightened, the stone heavy in his pocket. "Carlton Hayes," he said. "Her lawyer. What else?" "She's got a doctor," Lila said. "Says you're losing it. Memory, focus, all that. She's building a case to make you look like you can't run things." Her words were matter-of-fact, but there was a tremble beneath them, like she knew the stakes were climbing. He nodded, the truth settling like concrete in his chest. "She's been planning this for years," he said, more to himself. "I felt it but didn't want to see it." "You see it now," Lila said, her voice firm. "That's what matters." She paused, then added, "I saw her watching me yesterday near the coffee shop. She knows I'm around." Marcus's gut twisted. "You need to be careful, Lila. She's not someone who plays nice." "I know," she said. "No fear, just resolve. I've dealt with worse, but you gotta move fast before she locks you out." He leaned back, the bench creaking under him. "Why do you keep helping me, Lila? You don't owe me nothing." She went quiet, longer than usual, then said, "'Cause I know what it's like to be invisible. People walk past you, act like you're not there, like you don't matter. I see you, Mr. Ellison. You're not invisible to me." Her voice cracked, just a little, and Marcus felt his throat tighten again. "And," she added softer, "I'm tired of people like her winning." He smiled, a real one, the kind that hurt a little. "You're something else, kid. And you're not done yet," she shot back, her tone light but pointed. "Here," she said, pressing another small stone into his hand, this one rougher, with a different carving, maybe a letter, maybe a symbol. "Found this by the creek. Mom used to say every stone's got a story. This one's yours now." He closed his fingers around it, the weight grounding him. "Thanks, Lila," he said, his voice thick with something he couldn't name. Eleanor's voice broke through, sharp and close. "Marcus, ready to go, honey?" Lila whispered, quick, "Don't let her know I'm here. Not yet." He nodded, and she was gone, her steps fading into the park's hum. The next week was a chess game played in the dark. Marcus moved carefully, recording Eleanor's conversations when she thought he wasn't listening. Her words were a masterclass in manipulation. "He's struggling, poor thing," she'd say to someone on the phone, her tone dripping with pity. "The board needs to act for his sake." He sent the recordings to Clara Voss, who was digging deeper, uncovering a trail of offshore accounts and doctored medical reports. Clara's voice was all business over the phone. "She's got Carlton Hayes in her pocket, and he's no lightweight. They're pushing for a board vote to declare you unfit, Marcus. We need to hit back hard." Marcus met Ezra again, this time at a quiet corner of the park, near the old gazebo, where couples took selfies. Ezra's boots crunched on the gravel, his voice low and rough. "Got more for you," he said, slipping Marcus another USB drive. "Bank transfers, emails between Eleanor and Hayes, even a contract with a shady neurologist. She's been at this since your eyes went bad." Marcus gripped the drive, his knuckles white. "How'd you get this?" "Used to do this for a living," Ezra said, a bitter edge to his voice. "Worked for folks like her, burying secrets. Quit when I saw one too many lives get crushed. Figure I owe the universe some balance." "Why help me?" Marcus asked. Ezra paused, then said, "'Cause that kid believes in you." "Lila." She found me at a soup kitchen, asking questions like a damn detective. Said you were in trouble. Her kind of faith. It's rare. Figured I'd see why. Marcus nodded, the stone in his pocket a quiet reminder. What's next? We build a case, Ezra said. Clara's got a lawyer friend, someone who plays dirty but clean. You act normal, let Eleanor think you're still out of it. Meanwhile, we get ready to flip the board. On a sticky Atlanta evening, Eleanor stood in Marcus's study, her perfume sharp, her voice smooth as a Pascal soul food platter. You're not yourself, Marcus, she said, all concern. The board's worried. Let me handle things. He leaned back, recorder hidden in his sleeve, voice steady. Just thinking about the company. You've been busy, huh? Someone has to, she said, tone soft, but edged. You're forgetting things, stumbling. He smiled, sharp. Helping the board do what's best for me, right? Her breath hitched. I'm protecting you, Marcus. No, he said, voice cutting like steel, the stone heavy in his pocket. You're protecting yourself. I know about the accounts, the lawyer, the doctor. Her silence screamed. You're confused, she said, icy. I'm awake, he said, leaning forward. And I see you clear as day. She left, heels clicking fast, unease trailing her. The real fight came in the boardroom, a sleek glass and steel space in Ellison Tech's Midtown headquarters. Marcus stood, Clara at his side, the USB drive in his pocket next to Lila's stone. The board, 12 suits, faces he couldn't see but could feel watching him, sat around the long table. Eleanor was there, her perfume sharp, her presence a quiet storm. Marcus took a breath, his voice steady, louder than he'd expected. I can't see, he said, but I know the truth. Eleanor's been lying, moving money, faking reports to make you think I'm unfit. She wants my company, my name, everything I built. But I'm still here, and I'm not stepping aside. He played the recordings. Clara laid out the evidence. Bank transfers, emails, a neurologist's contract to falsify Marcus's condition. The room went still, the kind of quiet that comes before a storm breaks. Eleanor's voice, when she spoke, was calm but brittle. He's unwell, she said. These accusations, they're paranoia, nothing more. Clara didn't flinch. The evidence says otherwise, she said, sliding folders across the table. You've been playing a long game, Mrs. Ellison. It ends today. The board deliberated for 2 days. Marcus spent them in the park, Lila at his side, her small voice a steady anchor. You did good, she said, her sneakers kicking at the gravel. Stood up to her. Not done yet, he said, the stone warm in his hand. But you gave me the push, kid. She grinned, her eyes bright. Somebody had to. The board's decision came on a muggy morning. Eleanor was out, suspended from all decision-making, her lawyer under investigation. Marcus kept his chair, his company, his name. But he didn't stop there. Lila's words, her faith, had lit something bigger in him. He founded the Spark Within, a non-profit for kids like her, smart, overlooked, full of light the world ignored. He rented a community center in West End, a beat-up building with creaky floors but good bones. Lila helped pick the colors for the walls. Bright blues, warm oranges, like the Atlanta sunset. Months later, Marcus stood in Piedmont Park, the oak tree shading him from the summer heat. Lila was beside him, her sneakers scuffed, but her eyes shining. She handed him a new stone, this one carved with a tiny star. For the kids, she said. So they know they're not alone. He smiled, the weight of the stone grounding him. You saved me, Lila. Nah, she said, her voice light but sure. We saved each other. The spark within grew, a beacon for Atlanta's forgotten kids. Marcus's daughter, Nora, joined the cause, her presence healing a rift he'd thought permanent. They worked side by side, painting walls, planning programs, proving that light wasn't just in stones. It was in people, waiting to be found. The Spark Within's grand opening filled the West End Community Center, with gospel music echoing from Sweet Auburn's churches. Marcus stood at the podium, Nora beside him, Lila in the front row, her stone necklace glinting. "This isn't about me," he said, voice clear. "It's about kids like Lila, who see what we miss. We're here to help every kid shine." Lila took the mic, voice steady. "I thought nobody saw me, but Mr. Ellison did. Now we're building a place for every kid to be seen." The crowd clapped, some teary, others nodding. Under the oak tree later, Marcus held the stone, warm in his hand. "You ever miss the old you, Lila?" "Nah," she said, eyes bright. "You're a light, Mr. Ellison, and you're a spark," he replied. They walked into Atlanta's evening, carrying a truth. Even the smallest voice could change everything,